What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, welcome, and thanks for tuning in. This is Tom Hickey from 2020 Media, and you are listening to NBT Bank's On the Scene podcast. Thank you to our sponsor, NBT Bank. We reach over 250,000, that's 250,000 readers of the Jewish Ledger, West Hartford Magazine, and weha.com, live 24/7, 365. Thank you for joining us, and remember always to support not only our guests, who you'll meet in a minute, but our presenting sponsor, NBT Bank. And let me introduce Bob Carr. Hey, Bob.
Good morning, Tom. Good afternoon, Tom. We usually do this.
Whatever it is.
We usually do it in the mornings. Tom Hickey, along with myself, Kosi McCarty, and Ronnie Newton, are owners and founders of weha.com. As mentioned, and maybe Tom didn't mention this time, Tom is the owner of 2020 Media and brings to West Hartford and the surrounding area the various tastes of West Hartford, the best of West Hartford, and West Hartford Magazine, along with other products. The podcast is helped along, get put together by Eric Lopkin of the Modern Observer Group. And our guest today is Doreen Tarascio. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. At the Bridge Family Centers. So, normally we start off, I usually ask a question or two, and about the bridge, I was reading up on it. You guys started in 1969, and originally was just for somebody saw that a need for people who had drug issues, correct?
Yes. That's correct. Yep, we have been in the West Hartford community for over 50 years. And as you said, we did start that was back in the late 60s, and there was a lot of turmoil in our country going around. A lot of kids hanging out at the green, smoking the funny stuff. And there was a group of people that really thought that, this isn't where our teens should be. There was a lot of couch surfing. They didn't have their own, their homes. And they needed a space where they could go that was a safe space and to have some adult interaction and mentoring. So that was really how the bridge started. It started at the basement of the at First Church, and we have grown exponentially since then. Mm-hmm. However, our mission of helping children and families here in West Hartford and in many surrounding communities has stayed the same. That our focus has always been every family, every child, every time. And as new services have come to us and that we've established them, that's our guiding principle and our guiding post.
I noticed that you have a lot more, let's say, wraparound services from when you started. And I read over the decades, each decade, how you've added to those services, added to either the teenagers or the adults, and how you serve them. What do you see the Bridges process now? How are you able to provide all those wraparound services that you have?
It's interesting. The Bridge is a very responsive organization, and we respond to the needs of the communities. And as we see these needs, we're looking for partnerships and ways that we can collaborate with other organizations. We have a tremendous partnership with the town of West Hartford and the West Hartford Public Schools. So basically, the Bridge right now has 5 what I would consider separate programs. And one of them is our residential programs. We have 3 shelters across the state. We have one right here in West Hartford. And those are for kids that are in GCF care, teenagers 11 to 17. We have a moving on project, which is kids that are phasing out of GCF care but are living in structured apartment settings. We have independent living programs where the kids are mentored. Again, they're phasing out, but they're learning. They have people to help them, staff to help them with just the basics of becoming an adult. What's a bank account? How do you budget your money? How do you get into school? How do you save for rent? So those are our residential programs. Then we have our counseling centers. We have 4 counseling centers 2 in West Hartford, 1 in Rockville, and 1 out in Avon. And we do counseling for everyone, at any stage of their lives. We're here for any transition that people are going through, adults, teens, men, women. Then we have our Family Resource Center. That's the happy place at the bridge. That's all, that's located at the Charter Oak International Academy. And that is early childhood development programs, family program, parenting programs. So that's 3. We have our Mosaic Parenting Center. That's our latest program, and that's located right across the West Hartford border in Farmington on Farmington Ave. It's a very neat program. It helps parents, moms and dads whose children have been taken away from the home and now are in custody of DCF, and it's working towards reunification, if that's what should happen, or working towards building some kind of a relationship with your child. So these kids are in foster care. They come to the home. We call it a home. They come to the office, and we have youth coaches that work with them. And before they see their kids, they have a chance to talk about, what do you think went well last week? What do you think is going well this week? What are your goals? And then their children come in and they color and they play with them. We've got toys, very diverse. It's a very warm, welcoming place, particularly when you consider that prior to this, families were meeting their children in a DCF office, cold, sterile, linoleum floors, hard chairs. Here it's carpets and couches, and and they really develop a good rapport with their youth coaches and are able to work towards the goals.
Wow.
I think everyone does, but just in case they don't, DCF, the acronym, just that stands for
Department of Children and Families.
Okay. I wanted you to say it, not me. Great. Okay.
Nope. And I'm forgetting one.
Oh.
I said residential counseling, our independent living programs, our Family Resource Center, and our Mosaic Parenting Center. Got them all.
Yeah, well,
I think what's really interesting is I've been here at the bridge for, I think, 6 or 7 years. And I had always known about the bridge. I had always known about their counseling. But when I was getting ready to interview them, doing my homework, I was just awed at the depth and breadth of the services that are offered. And I thought, sometimes people can spread themselves a little bit thin, but it's really tooting the bridge's horn, because each of those programs is a quality program. It meets the clients where they need to be. And we're very thoughtful. Bob had said we've evolved quite a bit, but we're thoughtful in the way of, are we going to be able to meet these needs and meet the people's needs, and how are we going to be staffed, and how are we going to make each new program that we have fit in with the other programs.
Yeah, I think that says a lot too, Doreen, to that. I was sort of going to say the same thing. I feel as though, being married to an educator, teacher and principal, I feel as though what I've always heard, about the bridge was, when they were helping a child in need, that which typically sort of came from a counselor or somebody, from within. So now we can laugh about that. Sorry, I forgot to turn my phone on silent. So it is now. But one of the things that I'm surprised at every single time I go to the gala, granted, I get an annual report and all that kind of fun stuff too, but just how broad, people think of the bridge as West Hartford centric, and, your office, Doreen, may be in West Hartford, but the reach is just so much more, than that. Could you speak a little bit about, like how far do you go, or, is there a certain area where you wouldn't help somebody, or
No, I especially now, because after the pandemic, with everyone learned how to work remotely, I never even knew Zoom or Teams, and now I can log on with very little problem. We have kids that are in our independent living program that are in Pennsylvania, in school in Pennsylvania, and we are still working with them because we can work with them remotely. The same with our counseling. The counseling that we offer is they can come into our physical location, but we're still available for them if they'd like to use telehealth. So really, we are West Hartford based, but we are, as you said, we
Right.
do go farther than that. And if there was a community, Avon Counseling Center, we see a lot of people in the Farmington Valley community, a lot of children. The pandemic was not kind to anyone. And we see our kids are really, really struggling. Still, there's a high incidence of anxiety, of depression, of isolation. And one of the things that we do as part of our counseling is we have a youth and family services team, and they go into the schools. They're actually in all of the West Hartford public schools, and they offer counseling right there. We now have counselors in the middle school, so that kids are able to get the help that they need. They might have families that aren't able to get to us when our counseling centers are open, so we can help them. We have groups, kids that are going through divorce and separation. They'll meet if there's something that the teachers or counselors or administrators are seeing, bullying, or we have the resources to send to the school to talk with them. You'll often hear whenever there's a tragedy that counselors are available to help the staff and kids get through something. We are those counselors. It's our team that is working right there with the school system to help people be able to what's the word I'm looking for? Be able to cope with what's happening.
Okay. Where, Bob, I know what you were thinking. I was just thinking to myself, where, as you've broadened so much, where's the money come from? Where do the resources, come from? How do you, obviously you can't expand and you can't reach more people and help more people if you don't have, the resources to do so.
Yep. That's a great question. We, again, our residential programs, our independent living programs, and our Mosaic Parenting Center, we are contracted with the Department of Children and Families to, excuse me, to run those programs.
Okay.
But, and again, we have contracts with Town of West Hartford to be the Youth Service Bureau, and with the public schools to offer counseling. And they're great. However, there's always more of a need. Kids, in our counseling, in a residential, they can show up with clothes that are the wrong season, the wrong size. And through the donations that we get from individuals and corporations, and foundations, we're able to help those kids with we call it basic human needs, the little extras that are really going to make them I'm sorry. We have some kids in our residential programs that have never been to the beach. So with that discretionary income, we're able to take, trips to the beach or a ball game or the yard goats, and to make their childhood as childhood-like as it can be.
Right.
To really enhance it with the I call them fringe, but they're important. They're really, to be able to have our houses be warm and welcoming, and so that's through that. We are very, very fortunate to have very strong donor base, foundations that have been very generous and that have been with us for a very long time. The Harvard Foundation for Public Giving, we just received a $300,000 grant. This is the third time we've gotten it.
Wow.
$100,000 a year for 3 years. The Hartford Foundation they know what they're doing. So that's a huge, strong testament to the work of the bridge that we're able to receive that kind of money.
Absolutely. A huge commitment.
So a couple of things that struck me. First of all, like the program, the independent living program, I often wonder what happens to children when they get to that transition time, when they're 17, 18 years old. How are they going to cope with life? So that's an amazing program. I mean, I haven't really heard of that before. And, and then the other thing you brought up, which I had thought about earlier before we started, is you've been there for 7 years. So you were there pre-COVID and post-COVID. What were those unique challenges for that time frame that you had, that the bridge had, that, and you mentioned something you're still dealing with. So that was something else I was thinking about earlier is the pre-COVID, post-COVID, and then what's going on now? What have you seen?
COVID, as I said, it was tough for all of us. I think the hardest part for us, well, we were within a week, we were able to do the telehealth and have the counseling, but it was, we knew that there's kids that were home that were just in their bedrooms or trying to do school, which thank goodness my children were older and out of college, because I would have given up. There's to have a third and a fifth grader and you're trying to help them with their schoolwork. And so it was really tough for us to know that people were out there hurting and not be able to reach them. So we were very innovative in the ways that we met with the people, keeping everyone safe. We did a lot of home checks on some of the kids that we hadn't heard from. We did a lot of phone calling. The same with the kids in the independent living program. There was constant contact because communication is the key to our work. We need to be able to help people with what their struggles are for that day. And knowing that people were struggling, we really made huge efforts to be able to, talk to them one-on-one throughout the pandemic. We're seeing the same types of things pre-pandemic, except for now the acuity is much greater. We definitely see that in the kids in our schools and in the counseling centers. Again, there's a real high incident of anxiety, of fear, of depression, of where do they fit in now? Because if you were a middle schooler now, you would have been doing so many things to adapt to get into high school, socially, that those kids weren't able to do. So they're looking for some social guidance. It's tough.
I was thinking too, and tell me if you disagree with this, Doreen, but it's sort of funny, as bad as the pandemic was, it did force, for those 2 weeks we were all going home, it forced us all to get creative, and I tell the stories all the time about how, I still have Zoom meetings. It's like, people would still want to see you in person, but it's just easier. Everybody, wherever they are, a little bit. And I feel as though communication, is better. So I could see as a counseling center, you're missing sort of that one-on-one, in person. But thank goodness, at least for the Zoom, you can see them, they'll be lying in bed, but you can still at least communicate, with somebody. So
and there's a lot of nonverbal communication that goes along with our counseling. So it is important to be able to see someone and how they react to anything, whatever you're offering or saying to them.
Interesting. Yeah. Good
So I'm
point.
sure you guys have a tremendous number of success stories, and what are the success stories that this bridge tells itself inside, and what do you give out to the world in the success stories? What do you talk about?
Well, it's interesting because each client that we work with, their success is different. They define it differently. I talked about the Mosaic Parenting Center, and we do have a number of families that are reunified, and the kids are back with their mom or their dad or whatever their living arrangement is. In our shelters, there is reunification with families. There's discharge to foster care or another placement. And it depends. Some of those kids shouldn't be reunited with their family. Some of them should be. So it really depends on individual circumstances. Adults come to us at all different stages in their grief or in their therapy. So what would be successful to one might be, a kid that we've had. Kids that have been like just beyond afraid, just really severe anxiety that something, there's going to be a meteor that falls from the sky, that there's more than just dragons under their bed. It's like serious stuff. And we've been able to work with him, and he's now he flies with his family, he travels with his family. He he's able now he has coping mechanism and skills. So that's clearly a success.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I was just going to ask you if there was a poster child, so I'll take that one as a poster child.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And then you mentioned earlier, I thought it was interesting going to the yard goats game and going to the beach. What what are the, again, it's probably a broad range, whatever he needs, but how does the staff feel about doing that fun stuff as well? I mean, does it make people, give it a broader range of, some enjoyment? Because it is a tough, what you do is very tough. Obviously, what you're talking about,
Yep.
we deal with on a daily basis. There's got to be a way to also, on the flip side, see that positive that comes out of being with these kids, these
I
families.
think those extracurricular activities that we're able to offer, those are wonderful bonding opportunities. When people are they're more relaxed, they have a chance to like open up a little bit. It's not there is routines in the house, so I think it just offers them another different way to be able to bond with, and they don't even know it.
Mhm.
You're learning a lot about people but it's not like I'm sitting across from you telling you these things. We're just driving in the car. We're walking up to get our tickets. You can learn a lot about people that way.
I'd love to, because believe it or not, already 25 minutes has gone by.
I know.
It's time flies, it goes quickly. I'm thinking about the last 25 years, and I'm thinking 25 years ago, I don't know if it was Judy, but someone had the idea, that there should be, a gala. Scott Haney, I believe, if he was not involved right from the very beginning, he was for at least 20 some odd years.
Yeah, it was a couple years in.
Yeah, then West Hartford Magazine, then weha.com, now Jewish Ledger. So how and this event for our listeners, the 25th anniversary gala celebration is Saturday, March 9th. And it's right in Farmington, so nice and convenient. And I'll let you speak to it. What
Sure.
should people come, and what would they get out of it, and hopefully a portion of the proceeds of the ticket or whatever will help fund some of your good deeds.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. They should come. Again, Saturday, March 9th at Farmington Gardens. This is a new venue for us. We had been at the Hartford Golf Club for a number of years. We took a break for a little bit. But because the Hartford Golf Course is renovating their ballroom, we had to look for a new venue. We're very, very pleased with Farmington Garden. It's a different vibe. I think it's a little bit more like it's fun. It's a really fun.
I'll date myself. When we chatted a few weeks ago, Doreen, about this, I forgot. And Bob, maybe you remember, it was Lexington Gardens. That's
Yes.
what.
Oh yeah, yes.
Gardens. So if you're my age, I just dated myself. You remember it as Lexington Gardens, right off of Route.
Yep. Yes, it's a beautiful venue. We start off the evening at 6:00 with a cocktail reception, a silent auction. We do a couple of fun type of auction things. We have a program called the Golden Ticket, where you can buy a ticket, and if your name is pulled, then you get to pick what live auction item you want. It won't go up for bid. You've got it. So for $100, you could get a Broadway getaway experience, golf at Shelter Harbor, dinner at Brico's for 8 people, really nice Max's Oyster Bar. So that's a lot of fun. We also do another thing called Heads and Tails, and that's where you buy one of those light up bling rings, and then as we all come into the ballroom, we play a game of heads or tails, and Scott flips the coin, and you decide if you want to. If you're heads, you put your hand on your heads. If you're tails, you put your hands on your behind. And it goes very quickly, and it's a lot of fun. It's different, it's a different thing for it's another way to have fun. Delicious dinner. And this year we have a band. And at this venue, the dance floor is right in the middle of the dining room. So there's seats on either side. And we have a band from New York that is absolutely fantastic. Margaret, our executive director, saw them at a wedding and called me up, and she's sending me videos saying we need to get them. And I think that's going to add to the fun too. it's a real feel-good vibe. We do show a video telling two stories of our clients, and then we do a paddle raise after that. And the generosity in that room is absolutely incredible. People have been, and I'm a fundraiser, so I should, think about all these different aspects are a great thing, and they are. But people will come in, they've already bought their tickets, they'll do the heads and tails for $25, the golden ticket for $100, buy 5 or 6 silent auction items, be bidding on the live auctions. They're just, and you get caught up in it, and it's good. It's just, like I said, it's a feel good. You're there, you're going to have a good time, but you're really helping children and families across the area.
Wonderful. So again, on March 9th, you can join the bridge in Farmington at Farmington Gardens. Why don't you direct everyone, Doreen, before we sign off, to your website and give them your website? So, because if you guys want more information, and I believe too, was there a video of the band on the website? I think, if I remember seeing.
Yeah, no, we did that on our Facebook page. Yes.
So they can check out the band too.
Yeah. The easiest way to get to tickets is if you go to our website, bridgefamilycenter.org. You'll see right up there in the front, there's a little click, there's a ball graphic and a click, and you can just click right in there and get the tickets.
Excellent. And if for some reason you forget that, you can go to West Hartford Magazine and click on the cover. You can go to weha.com. Ronnie did a story a couple weeks ago, so we've got you covered across the but hopefully we'll see everyone then. And congratulations, Doreen, to you and Margaret and everyone at the bridge.
Oh, thank you.
On your 25th anniversary, and we'll be there to celebrate with you.
Great. Well, thank you very much for having me. It was great. You guys are wonderful to the bridge and our children and families, and we appreciate it.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time when we're tuning in to On the Scene, and Bob and I will have another great guest just like Doreen. All right. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a great day. Be safe.
Take care.
What I'm looking for in a bank is one that's looking out for me, like NBT. I want a relationship and a team that supports me in my dreams. And when life gets challenging, I need a bank that's focused on what matters. Not to mention one that's been top rated by Forbes in trust, customer service, financial advice, and more. That's why when it comes to meeting my banking needs, it's always NBT. Learn more at nbtbank.com. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.